Hey everyone. No, I'm not gonna come on and talk. I'm not gonna come on and show the trailer or anything, but I'm gonna talk about it because everybody's been talking about it. I saw the trailer on Twitter and everything, and yes, if you're wondering, I do have a paper clip connecting my mic to my shirt because the original clip for it, broke off. The last time I did this, I used some tape to tape it together and tape it onto my shirt and go from there. But anyway, I wanted to come on here and talk about the Powerpuff Girls, or Powerpuff as it's called, live action trailer that got leaked. The trailer that was never supposed to see the light of day, believe it or not. It was never supposed to see the light of day, and yet, a couple of days ago, someone decided to leak it out online. And what's ironic about it is they leaked it out online around the time that the second half of the third and final season of Jellystone got released and premiered, that being known as Season 3B, premiered with the crossover called Crisis on Infinite Mirth that had the Powerpuff Girl in there. Then a little inside shot, if you will, as OG Bubbles punching the new Bubbles, if you will, the reboot, and making her explode. But anyway, ironically, around that same time, as I said, the trailer for the canceled, because it was canceled, CW mature take, if you will, on the Powerpuff Girls got released. Somebody, I don't know who, nobody knows who, got a hold of it, and I guess, Lost Media Busters was able to upload it onto their Twitter, aka X account, as well as upload it onto YouTube. But of course, on many occasions, the trailer got taken down. Now, others have posted it up because obviously they knew that probably would happen. But over time, CW and Warner Brothers has said, no, you're not going to show that. You're not going to let the world see what we were planning for the Powerpuff Girls and the live action, take on them. And, a lot of people, when they saw this, they kind of probably understood why WB and, CW, but mostly WB said, yeah, this isn't a good idea. Let's not do this and everything. They can kind of see, exactly, why it got canceled and all. And honestly, I don't think, you could hold on for a sec. You could blame anybody for that. I don't think you can honestly blame anybody for that over in that area. Because one thing a lot of people were making fun of when they did see this trailer was that it felt like it was more of a satire, more of a parody, more like something you would see on Saturday Night Live, SNL. Basically it's something you would see on there. And honestly, I don't think you can blame people for, looking at it from that perspective, because basically that's what it felt like, especially the intro with the flying in the air, that's what it felt like. And then you have, how they're portrayed as adults, because, yeah, they go through the origin and everything and all that. But then what happens is they decided, well, instead of kind of keeping it true to what it is and, just, aging them up to teenagers, Riverdale style and all that, and then, just trying to stay true to what the story was, of course they had to, basically angst it up, if you will. They had to teen angst it up, if you will. With the meddling, that being CW and WB, they had to angst it up, and the people in charge of it, and the person that was in charge of it actually had won an Academy Award, was nominated for one, and again they had to angst it up. For what reason, we don't know. And even when they did that, they tried to give it a more mature, darker tone with the girls aged up to 18, 20 years old. Even then, it felt like in a lot of people's eyes, there was nothing more than a parody. It felt like it was coming off that way because you have Blossom more focused on wanting to, pass, have passing grades, go to college, get SATs. You have Buttercup being a tomboyish influencer, if you will, a woke influencer, whatever you want to call it. And then you have Bubbles, basically, making money on the street, selling, I guess photos, taking pictures and taking pictures for money, that with people or for people or something like that, or also selling drugs. I don't know. Bubbles was the way people looked at Bubbles' portrayal as an adult was more along the lines of it looks like she's more trying to be a street worker, if you know what I mean. And I say that with all due respect, but a street worker of a certain kind. The one that was portrayed, I guess, respectfully in the movie Endora, the Academy Award Best Picture winner. That's kind of the vibe people were getting with Bubbles, in her adult form. And it's like, really? Really? You mean, look, I've never been a fan of Powerpuff Girls. I know about it. I think I've seen the movie once, the animated film once and everything. But I've never been fond of it. Not really. I've never been fond of it whatsoever because it's like, it just felt like something was off about it to me. And I don't know if it's because of how how the characters came to be via the origin or what. I don't know. But it just felt a little off. But even I can acknowledge and admit that you don't go out of your way to do a grown up version, age up the characters, if you will, and then all of a sudden as you age them up, you decide, yeah, instead of staying true to the show, to the original show itself that it's based upon, we're going to go in a different direction. We're going to make it all angsty and mature and dark. Some people even said it was kind of very Riverdale-ish, if you know what I mean. And look, I watched Riverdale when it first came out, and I thought it was okay. Don't get me wrong, I liked Riverdale. I just didn't have an opportunity because I was working and doing some other things. I didn't have a chance to watch the other seasons. I got to catch up on those. I have seasons 1 and 2 on DVD as the complete series, but I don't have the rest of the series, so I got to look into it eventually. The other seasons. But the point I'm getting at is a lot of people made that comparison, and when I hear people make that comparison, I'm going to say this: Archie and his friends, they're perfectly suitable to have that happen to them because because at the time Riverdale was coming out, they were doing something similar in the comics. They were doing different variations of the characters in the comics. So there was no, reasoning, to be upset about, oh, they're taking Archie and his friends in this different direction because the characters were adaptable. I mean, yeah, there were some people that felt like, it wasn't Archie and all that. It just, didn't work. It wasn't, what the characters were always meant to be and such. You know what I'm saying? It just felt like it was, something else, like somebody's, dramatic fanfic, but using Archie characters to play the roles. And that's understandable. You can argue with that. There's no doubt. But, to me, being someone that's read comics for a while, I can understand that, but I can also, get behind the fact that, okay, these characters, can be put in this kind of setting because we're seeing it being done already in the comics, so to speak. So they're very adaptable. They're the kind of characters that are very adaptable, if you know what I mean. And, and so to me, it makes a lot of sense, for that to happen. So I don't see much of an argument there because over time, I think some people looking at the comics themselves now realize that, okay, this does work. Riverdale did work, to an extent. The same thing with the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the more supernatural, gothic, horror-like take on Sabrina, even though it wasn't as popular as Riverdale, it still basically, because it was spun off from Riverdale, by the way, it still kind of worked because you could fit her into that environment. Powerpuff, on the other hand, no, you can't. You can't fit them into that kind of environment because, one, if you fit Powerpuff into that kind of environment, it's like, okay, now what? What do you do with the character now? Where do you take the character from here? So to me, I can understand that Powerpuff Girls, you know, being turned into this, and then you get this trailer that was never supposed to see the light of day because the show got canceled. Not even the pilot saw the light of day. You know, you see this and all that, and again you hear about what the direction they were going to take it, and then you see this visual proof, and it's like, no, this does not work. This does not work whatsoever. There is no way this could have worked. There's no way this should have even been conceived as a possibility for a series. So to me, I don't blame anybody for feeling angry. I don't blame anybody for looking at that and being like, what were they smoking? What drugs were they on when they came up with this? What was the guy that was nominated and I think won an Academy Award and all that? What was he smoking? What was he drinking? What was he on basically when he came up with the idea to do this? Because look, you can race swap the professor all you want. You can change up who Mojo Jojo is by making him the mayor and all that, and his son being named Jojo, and him being and the father being Mojo or whatever. You could do that, and that's fine. You could get away with those little things here and there. People may not be used to it at first because that's not who the character was, but over time you could be like, yeah, it's a different interpretation, alternate universe, and all that. Like I said with Jellystone. But the thing is, along with that, it felt like something that should have never even been thought of. It's like whoever saw the idea, whoever greenlit the idea, should have kind of stopped themselves, rethought about it, and been like, nope, we're not doing that because that's not Powerpuff. No, that's not Powerpuff Girls. So again, I don't blame people for basically feeling that what they're feeling like basically they were they had dodged a bullet. They had dodged a bullet and all that because even because I think really when you think about it, even they realized that this probably wouldn't have even lasted not even 6 episodes at most had it even been given the opportunity because of the backlash it would have gotten. So again, I'm sure a lot of people are relieved it never saw the light of day. I'm sure those at CW and WBD that decided, yeah, let's not do this, realize, hey, maybe we, dodged a bullet. Because again, it felt like it just was not, it felt like it was something that, was not taking itself seriously. It felt, again, like some people put it, like a parody, a satire, a skit you would see on shows like, Saturday Night Live or In Living Color, or in all that. It felt like that. And again, I don't think you can blame anybody for feeling that way or being relieved that they dodged a bullet with having to even see this, because let's say they do reviews for a living, they probably are relieved they dodged a bullet of having to review something that pretty much is a betrayal, outright of what the source material was. Again, you can do, adaptations all you want. You can do adaptations all you want and say, oh, it's a different take, different alternate universe and all that. You could do all that all you want, and that's fine. Don't get me wrong. You could do all that all you want, and that's fine. But there are some things that are just best left alone. Just don't look at it and say, hey, let's try this, because it's not going to come out, the way you hope for or the way you're planning. And, maybe having it canceled and hearing the criticisms and all that, maybe it's going to make anybody else in the future consider, hey, maybe if we want to do a live action Powerpuff Girls series or whatever, and, to the point that it ages up the girls, maybe this time around we should just stay true, to what the source material was and go from there. So to me, this might have been a blessing in disguise, to where they could be like, yeah, let's let's not do it, or let's not let it happen, and maybe learn from it, so that if we want to do it again in the future, we could be like, yeah, let's stay true to what made the show what it is, even as we age up the characters, and go from there, in my opinion. But to me, again, you can't blame anybody for feeling the way they did. You can't. So, yeah, critics, the reviewers, they dodged a bullet, and in a way, WBD and CW dodged a bullet, as well. And I think they're glad they did. But yeah, this is one of those cases that, you don't. This is one of the cases where there are certain properties that don't need to be put in this kind of environment. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Comment down below, and I'll talk to y'all later.